All right, welcome back to the Groove Chateau. Now let's take those notes in the first position that we learned last lesson, and we're going to make a little warm-up exercise of these. Now let's do one note every click. This would be a quarter note, and we'll talk about these terms a little bit later in the lesson. I'll give you a 4 count in. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was throwing out terms like half notes and quarter notes. Let's talk about how to measure time and how that functions within playing bass. Remember, the bass is kind of an instrument that fits in the cracks between two events, rhythm and harmony. So one of the things I have to do is I have to have good time, and I have to be able to play with a drummer. And the other thing that I have to do is I have to be aware of playing the right notes to support the chord. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the lesson. For right now, let's go ahead and jump into time signatures. The common time signature we're going to be initially dealing with is one that is called 4/4. 4/4, if you look at it, it'll look like a fraction. 4 over a 4. The way to interpret this is that you look at the top number, and that will be the number of beats per measure, 4 beats per measure. You look at the bottom, and that 4 there means that a quarter note gets 1 beat. Well, what's a quarter note? A whole note's going to be 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the whole length of the note. Remember, each measure is going to be 4 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So a whole note will last for 4 clicks, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if there's one whole note in a measure of 4/4, that would divide into 2 half notes. That would be 2 notes per measure. It would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's take your knowledge of whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes and put them to use. We're going to do a little exercise that uses just the open strings of the bass so we can concentrate on our timing. We're just going to use the open E, A, D, and G. The first thing we're going to do is just play across the neck in whole notes. Then I'll do 2 half notes on each pitch, and 4 quarter notes on each pitch will be our last exercise. So I'll count you in. This is at 60 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the things we've done up to this point is we've learned all the notes up to the 12th fret in sharps and flats. And somebody was asking in the earlier lesson, why do we have more than one name for some of these notes? This all has to do with key signature, and the key signature is generated by what is called a major scale. If we look, I'll play a C major scale for you, and then I'll kind of take this and look at it and give you the mechanics of what's going on. Here's a C major scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. This is a good one to start with because there are no sharps or flats. These are all just natural tones, no accidentals. So if you look at that and how that's constructed, we have from C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step, E to F is a half step, F to G is a whole step, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, B to C is a half step. The major scale pattern that I just played has half steps in between 3 and 4 and also between 7 and 8. Let's look at that again. Here's the C to a whole step to the D, whole step to the E. Here's our half step, our first one, that 1 fret move. Then a whole step from F to the G, whole step from G to A, whole step from A to B. And we're finishing off with a half step from B to C. Now, let's take that basic idea and let's move that around to some different places on the bass neck. And you'll notice that we can't always use the same 7 notes. We're going to have to change some things. So the first thing let's do is to look at the low F, that's the first fret on the E string, just as a reminder. If I do a major scale in the key of F, that gives me an F, a G, there's my whole step, an A B flat. Whoa, what's going on here? All of a sudden I've had to change this. I can't use B. What's happening is I've got to accommodate for that half step. F to G, there's my whole step, the first one, and then G to A is my second one. Now all of a sudden I have to do a whole step, a half step. And if I do a half step, I can't use an A. I can't call that an A sharp. I've already used it. So I have to call it by an alternate name. Remember we said that a note in between one of the natural tones, that is the accidentals, the chromatics, could either be a sharp or a flat name. I have to use the flat name. I don't have any choice because I've already used A. So that's B flat, C, there's your whole step, C to D, there's your whole step, D to E, there's your whole step, and then we finish off with a half step, E to F. Now, once again, let's do this F scale. This time, we'll do it in time. Quarter note equals 60. I'll give you 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, back down, F, E, D, C, B flat, A, G, F. What kind of rhythm did I play? That's right, it was a half note. Every time there were 2 clicks, I played a note. Okay, now what we're going to do is take that pattern as far as the half and whole steps. Let's start changing it and run some different keys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to B flat. That is the first fret on the A string. If I play a B flat major scale, my half steps are going to be in between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. But once again, it's going to change some of my accidentals. So if I start here, I'm going to have a B flat, a C, a D, Now here's that first half step, E flat, F, G, A, and B flat. Once again, my half steps are in between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. But because of the fact that I've changed my starting note, I'm going to have to change another note in the scale. So I have to add an E flat. Notice something. It's actually the same pattern that I played on the F. We'll come back to that idea a little bit later when we start looking at closed position fingerings. So let's do the B flat scale in half notes at quarter note equals 60. So in other words, every 2 clicks I'm going to change notes. I'll count you in. 1, 2, 3, 4. B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, back down, B flat, A, G, F, E flat, D, C, B flat. Okay, I'm going to add one more flat to the key by starting on E flat. Once again, remember, my half steps are in between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. So if I start down here on the E flat, whole step up would be F, whole step up would be G, half step up would be A flat. So there's my new accidental. There's my A flat I have to throw into the mix. Whole step up would be B flat. Now I'm running out of notes in this first position, so I'm going to take these notes and I'm going to take them down an octave. So once I'm done with this B flat here, I'm going to drop down to C. So I'm dropping down to this lower C here. Remember, an octave is going to be the same note that you started your scale with, down 8 or up 8 steps, hence the name octave. Octave, from the Latin 8. So, starting here on the B flat, C, D, E flat. Let's do this in time. Half notes. Here we go, I'll count you in. 1, 2, 3, 4. E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat. Back down, E flat, D, C, B flat, A flat, G, F, E flat. Okay, now we're going to add one more flat, and I'm going to start on A flat now. Once again, remember my half steps are in between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. A flat, B flat, C, D flat. There's my first half step. E flat, F, G. Here's my second half step. A flat. Notice I've had to add one more flat to what would be my key signature and also the notes in the scale. I've had to add a D flat here. Let's try that one in half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, back down, A flat, G, F, E flat, D flat, C, B flat, A flat. Okay, now let's go ahead and add one more flat to this. We're going to start on D flat, remember D flat's going to be one half step down from the D. Right there. Here's the notes. D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat. Now, once again, I'm kind of running out of notes up here, so I'm going to drop down to B flat, C, and D flat. This time, my half steps are in between here. There's my 3 and 4, and here. There's my 7 and 8. Let's try that one in half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, back down, D flat, C, B flat, A flat, G flat, F, E flat, D flat. Okay, if you've noticed, all of a sudden we're getting really, really crowded with flats. I'm just going to add one more, and then we're going to start looking at sharp keys. This would be the key of G flat major. Once again, I'm going to start on a G flat. Remember, that's going to be the note in between F and G down here, right there. There's my G flat. And if I'm going through this, this is going to be G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat. Now you notice C flat is actually the same pitch as B natural. But once again, I've already played a B flat. We can't play two Bs in the same major scale. So let's start that again. G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F, G flat. Once again, here's my half steps in between 3 and 4, and 7 and 8. Now something happens with the fingering here. If you notice, I have a little pattern that's starting with my second finger. It's 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. This is a closed position major scale shape. We can use this and play this idea anywhere on the neck, as we'll demonstrate here in a minute. For right now, let's play that G flat major scale in half notes. Once again, quarter note equals 60. I'll count you in. 1, 2, 3, 4. G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F, G flat, G flat, F, E flat, D flat, C flat, B flat, A flat, G flat. Okay, now what we can do is we can take that C major shape and move that over to the G on the E string. I'm going to play the same fingering. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. This time the notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So I've had to add one sharp into the key signature to do the G major scale. Now let's try that in half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm going to call them going down. G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. Once again, your half steps are in between 3 and 4, B and C, and 7 and 8, F sharp and G. Okay, now let's move on to the key of D. Here we go, I'll count you in. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. D, C sharp, B, A, G, F sharp, E, D. Now some of these ones where I'm having to drop down the octave can be a little confusing. We're going to look at movable shapes and how that makes it a little easier a little later. For right now, bear with me. The next thing we're going to do is to add one more sharp to that key signature and get an A major scale. So this is going to be A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Let's try playing that together. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. A, G sharp, F sharp, E, D, C sharp, B, A. All right, almost done. We've only got 3 more keys to go through. And one of them we've already played before, we just called it a different name. Okay, so if I add one more sharp here, this is going to be the key of E major and an E major scale. It's E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. You notice what I did is I added one sharp, the D sharp. Now here's a little trick with reading sharp signatures. If you look at the last sharp on the music staff and then move up a half step, D sharp to E, that will be the key that you're in terms of the major key. Now we'll look at relative minor in a little bit, but for right now let's just focus on the major. Once again, here we are with the E major scale. Let's do half notes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. E, D sharp, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. Now, the next scale that we're going to do is key of B. All of a sudden, we're getting kind of the mouthful of sharps. We've got 5 of them here. However, here's some happy news. If I take that closed position C major scale, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, and just move that shape back 1 fret, that puts me in the key of B. I can use the same fingering, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. Told you there's a mouthful of sharps in this one. Okay, let's play this one in half notes. Once again, don't be intimidated by the different notes that we're having to call here. All you got to do is move your fingering back 1 fret, and you're going to be fine. Half notes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, B, A sharp, G sharp, F sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp, B. All right, the last scale. Now we've actually seen this one before. Remember we played G flat? This is one of those cases where you can call a scale, a whole scale and a whole key signature by a different name. You can also call this as F sharp major. F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp. I know this, this is a lot of stuff, but if you just bear with me through this, we'll be on to some really fun stuff. We'll be to some new material here shortly. Okay, last but not least, thank you for bearing with me, the key of F sharp major. Once again, half notes. F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, F sharp, E sharp, D sharp, C sharp, B, A sharp, G sharp, F sharp. Now there's a note that we normally would play as an F natural, but we can't really use that as an F natural because we're using an F sharp. Once again, unless you're playing a special kind of scale called a diminished scale, there's only going to be 7 notes, and it's only going to be those 7 notes that are in the musical alphabet with some adjustment. One of the ways that I practice these, or any other material that I'm working on in 12 keys, is that I'll just do groups of 4. So maybe the first day that I practice, I might do C, F, B flat, E flat. I typically go and add flats first. And then I would go to the next 4, and then I'd go to the next 4. But you can try different combinations. And once again, remember, with these movable shapes, that's going to come in really, really handy as we move up the neck and play the scales. All right. I'll be back in a minute, and we'll look at the 1, 4, 5 chords, and we'll look at 12-bar blues. So we'll get to play some music, and we'll get to play with a slamming band I've got. See you soon. All right, now we've taken a little bit of time and learned all those major scales. Let's put them to use and make some music with it. What we're going to look at now is what's called a 1-4-5 progression. This is a really common progression that you see in a lot of blues and rock and roll. You'll hear it in everything from Chuck Berry and Jimi Hendrix all the way through to U2 and Dave Matthews Band. So let's just kind of take a little moment and define what a 1, 4, and 5 chord are. Let's go back to this F major scale. I'm going to play this. But this time I'm going to think about all of these as numbers. So therefore F's number 1, G's number 2, A's number 3, B flat's number 4, C's number 5, D's number 6, E's number 7, and then I'm finishing off with 1 again. You know, it's the F. Okay, we'll look at this in a couple of different ways. We're going to look at this in these earlier lessons with classical and jazz music theory, and then later on, when we get into the professional segments, we'll be looking at the Nashville number system. We'll use this again. What we're going to do is take the 1, 4, and 5. In this case, in the key of F, it's going to be that first fret on the E string, that's F. First fret on the A string's B flat, and third fret on the A string, that's going to be C. You notice it's kind of an upside down L shape. You watch my hand. It's basically, I'm using the 3-fingered technique to play these. Now you can use the 4 if you want. That works fine too. Just a question of what's comfortable for you. If I were going to change keys and do that in the key of G, here's the G scale. Notice I used our little closed shape. Now what I'm going to do is take the 1 and go straight across to the 4. And then once again, the L shape's going to be up here. And that, in this case, is going to be G, C, D. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play triads on these chords. Now a triad, we'll deal with this at length in the next session. But for right now, just a quick explanation. A triad is taking the first note of the scale. In this case, it's going to be F. And then the third note of the scale, I'm going up F, G, A. There's my third. And then the fifth of the scale, that's the C. So if I put them together, F, A, C, that gives me a broken chord. A lot of times the bass player will be playing this, while a guitar or piano is playing this. Most of the time, especially when we're first starting, we're not going to be playing a whole lot of chords. We will later, but not right now. There's the F. Here's the B flat. Notice that they're the same fingerings. F, A, C. Then B flat's going to be the same. I'm just going straight across. Here's your B flat. Here's your D. Here's your F. Now when I get to the C, I'm going to use what is called a closed position fingering. And this is one we're going to use exclusively when we get to the 1-4-5 in the key of G. This is going to be C. Here's my third. And this shape is second finger on that C, first finger on the E, and then fourth finger on the G. So that's what I sometimes refer to as a 2-1-4 fingering, because I'm starting with my second finger, going to my first, going to my fourth. We're going to be playing in a new time signature, 3-4. Basically, what we've worked on so far with 4-4 would be this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3-4 time would be 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, let's move it up to the key of G. If we play it in the key of G, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this movable shape all the way through. So all I got to do is realize that my second finger is going to be on that 1, 4, and 5. With the second finger on the 1, 4, and 5, that sets up a movable shape. So I can play 2, 1, 4 on the G, G, B, D. And then I can just move that shape over to the C. And that's going to be 2, 1, 4 again, C, E, G. Now I'm actually going to move slightly out of position. We haven't quite learned these notes yet, but just for right now, the one new note that we're playing here is an A. But also look at it and realize that we're just going to take that shape and move it up to the 5th fret. And I get D, F sharp, A. Okay, let's do that again. D, F sharp, A. All right, now I'm going to play these through twice. This is a 1-4-5, also in 3-4 time. So it's still going to be that 1, 2, 3 tempo, that 1, 2, 3 time signature. I'll count you in if you wish to play along with me. 1, 2, 3. G, B, D, C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, G, B, D, G, B, D, C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, G, B, D. This, like I said, would be called a walking bass line. We'll be playing a lot of these throughout the course of your studies of Teach Me Bass Guitar. The main reason why it's called a walking bass line is it kind of sounds like the notes are walking around, and it's a very steady pace. Let's go ahead and do the same tempo, but this time I'm going to do a little bit more interesting line. Let's add that walking line that we talked about. Once again, this is going to be a quarter note equals 40, so you got plenty of time to think. And remember, your patterns are just going to be these three. On the 1 chord or on the F, it's going to be this. So just remember that shape. All we got to do to play that on the B flat is just move straight across. Okay, and then to do the C, I'm going to use my 2-1-4 shape. Practice on your own without the metronome and make sure you understand these notes and understand where you need to move next. Take your time. And then once you get to where you can move around and play the progression out of time, go ahead and try playing it very, very, very slowly. This is probably one of the first patterns and song forms that a bass player learns. And if I go and play with people anywhere in the world, even if I don't speak the same language with them, everyone knows a blues. So this is a really, really important progression to get down. Now, when we play this in a new key to jamming, we're going to combine the two. We're doing the pedal bass line, which is just playing the roots, the first time through. The second time through, we're going to go ahead and do the walking line. So there is a little bit of challenge to that. We're going to move the tempo up just a little bit to 60, since you've had some time to practice this, at 40. And we'll look at the format of the song. And then we'll take it to the stage and we'll jam with the band. So here we go. What I'm going to do is give you 4 bars, I'll give you 4 beats count in, and then we'll play this progression as it's going to be on the stage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the first time through the progression, all I'm doing is playing those pedals. I'm still not off the hook. I have to think about when I change that chord. This is the end of the 4th bar. I'm going to have to go to the B flat right now. Did you catch that? Good. Okay, back down to the F. Okay, the last 4 bars, we got to go up to the C. Down to the B flat. Finally down to the F again. These are the last 2 bars and they are the F. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to walk. F, A, C, A, F. You got it. Keep going. Good. Heads up, we got to move and change to the B flat here. Nice job. Back to the 1. Okay, up to the 5. Down to the 4. Down to the 1. Okay, now let's take it to the stage and jam with the band. All right, now you've had a chance to really get a hold of this 12-bar blues feel with the key of F, and you've met our fantastic band and had a chance to jam with them. Now, let's go ahead and take that, and we're going to change keys. This is a really important concept. We're going to use this a lot. And this is also one of the concepts that we're going to use throughout the course, and also you'll use it throughout your playing life as you're jamming with different people, because not every song's in the key of F. It'd be great if it was, but no, there's definitely more songs than, or there's more keys than C and F. So remember, we had this 1-4-5 progression in F, F, B flat, C. If I move it up here, just remember from the earlier study, here's our 1 chord in G, our 4 chord in G, and our 5 chord in G. Just to remind you, it's a G, a C, and a D. There's my 1-4-5. Now, once again, as I run the triads in the walking pattern, I don't really have the option of the open string anymore. What I'll have to do is play all of these with that 2-1-4-1 feel. So my fingering's just going to move around. So a good way to practice this before you actually play the pattern is to just take your second finger and move it around the box. Okay, well, that was a whole lot of work between the scales and the triads and playing the blues. I imagine your hands are a little bit, probably a little bit cramped up. They can be. I'll show you another stretch that you can use to kind of loosen this up. What I'm going to do here is just kind of lace my fingers together, and then I'm just going to stretch like this. Just once again, you don't want to bounce and you don't want to do this quick. All I'm doing is stretching out the muscles, stretching out the muscles. Just let it stretch. That's always a good, helpful thing to do after practice. Now, we can go back to the very, very first one we did and just stretch that out. On a personal note, one thing I've found is that if I'm playing a lot, caffeine is bad news, because what that is a vasoconstrictor. And what that'll do is that'll block the blood flow to these tiny little capillaries that feed all your muscles in your hands. And so you can experiment with that. Obviously, you know, that's personal choice. You can figure it out for yourself, but I've found what works for me is to mostly drink a lot of just water. Works great. That's my first choice, because that way everything kind of stays lubricated up. All right, now on the next session, what we're going to do is we're going to add eighth notes, we're going to add playing with a pick, and we're going to start rocking it up a bit. So I'll see you in lesson 3.